Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back for another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast brought to you by OKKC Sports. I am your host, Kyle Walker. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. It's actually not a bad weekend here in Kansas City. A little warm on Saturday, but a very pleasant Sunday. So I am looking forward to going out and getting a few miles for myself today. Hopefully everyone else is as well, because it's getting into the heat of summer. So we're not going to have too many nice mornings where it looks like right now it's about 70 degrees outside. I'll take that. I will take that every time. But it's a non-race weekend for us here at the podcast. We had two last weekend with the Fighting Fentanyl 5K and then the Father's Day Superhero Run. So nothing this weekend. Next weekend, we're going to be out at two different races. We will be at the Stars and Stripes 5K in Overland Park on Sunday morning. And then on the actual 4th of July, we will be at 4 on the 4th. And that takes place at Ward Parkway in Kansas City, Missouri. And so plenty of chances to find me out there running if you so desire. I think what we're going to do, if you're at all interested, we are going to have a t-shirt contest. So if you want a free Back of the Pack t-shirt, and not just any Back of the Pack t-shirt, these are 4th of July inspired Back of the Pack t-shirts. All you have to do is like this podcast and go ahead and give it a share. I'm going to choose the name of the people who do it. And let's be honest, probably not going to be that many names. Come on. I mean, that's how most of these giveaways are. If you have to like and share something, the numbers go down because not everyone wants to share their favorite running podcast for reasons that escape me. But if you do that, just give it a like, give it a share, and you will be entered in to win this one-of-a-kind t-shirt. And it might be so one of a kind, there might only be two people in this world who own it, and that will be you and me. So, hey, that's pretty good. I'll be in good company. You know, someone else will have the same shirt that I do. How cool is that? So yeah, so you got a chance to win that. I've seen the designs for it. I think the designs are super cool. I think it's fun. I like variations on a theme. And so you have a chance to win a 4th of July inspired Back of the Pack podcast t-shirt. All you have to do is like and share this episode. Send it on out there. So that's where we're going to be next week. So 2 races, total of 7 miles. And it's a good thing that miles are adding up because we are pretty much officially in fall marathon training season, if you can believe that. But that's going to be what we mostly talk about today. Something I did want to pass along because I do like passing along information to everyone. If you are chasing the 6 world marathon majors, if you're chasing stars, as it's called, because every time you complete one, you get a star. And there's 6 of them. If you're not familiar, there's 3 in the U.S. and then there's 3 international. In the U.S., of course, it's the Boston Marathon, the New York Marathon, and the Chicago Marathon. Those are the 3 stars in the States. Outside, it is London, Berlin, and Tokyo. Well, the people at the Tokyo Marathon have just put out their information. And so I'm just going to share with you a little quick blurb about it. In the 2023 Tokyo Marathon, they are going back to a full field. So 37,500 runners will be back for the Tokyo Marathon. And the race is going to be on March 5th, 2023. And then the ways to get into the race, because it is a difficult entry, that's for sure. There's a lot of information that you can find on their site. If you're going to try and get in through a charity, looks like that application period starts on July 11th and runs to the 24th. They're going to pick the charity recipients on July 25th through the 27th. The donation payment period, as they call it, is July 25th through August 5th. That doesn't seem like a whole lot of time to raise funds. So I'm wondering if maybe that's just when you have to pay for the race itself and then get your charitable donations on top of it. I don't know precisely myself. And then let's see, if you're a premium member, you know all about that. So I'm not going to go through that. Tokyo residents, they are August 15th through August 26th, where they can get into the race. And then what really pertains to most of us, the general entry. General entry period is from August 29th through September 9th, and the selection results will be announced on October 4th of this year. Like all the big races, it's basically a lottery, and you enter in your name, and then you hope for the best. See if they pick you. Now, I, of course, was the biggest skeptic there was about this. Like, there's no way these international races are going to take a U.S. citizen, just some guy out of the blue. Well, and now I'm running Berlin this year because through their lottery system, I was selected. Still don't ask me how it happened. I don't know, but I'm thrilled about the chance to run Berlin. I am probably going to enter myself into Tokyo fully expecting to not get selected. I think the day that I run Tokyo is going to be the day that I somehow land a charity bib and have to raise a bunch of money. Same thing for the Boston Marathon. I'm never going to qualify for Boston. It's going to be through a charity bib. But anyway, if you're interested in Tokyo, here is how you get in: charity or general entry. General entry coming up at the end of August. So be prepared if you want to throw your name in the hat and just see if you can't get lucky and land yourself a charity bib. Because, man, how cool would that be? Okay, so here's where we are. We are at the end of June. We are about to start July. Crazy enough, the fall marathon training schedules are now all pretty much going. If you were doing a 16-week program, and we're going to say for argument's sake for the Kansas City Marathon, which is on October 15th, the 16-week marathon programs have started. If you can believe that, like we're underway. So me for Berlin, I wanted to do a longer program and I actually messed myself up, just telling the truth with you guys. I entered in dates and I entered in distances and I was all ready to start my training program. Well, I had only filled out a 12-week training program. So next week, I start 12 weeks until Berlin, which is at the end of September. So the 16-week into the Kansas City Marathon in October is already underway. I'm about to start the 12-week program into Berlin, which is at the end of September. So no matter what you do, like they're starting. So if you're running any kind of a distance race, whether it be a half or a full in the fall, your training schedule is going to get going. That's just where we are at. So a lot of people wonder, why do we want to follow training schedules? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I found some articles that I wanted to share with you guys that I think are actually really good and they're helpful because I just me as the back of the pack runner here, I go into all my full marathons and I set up a training schedule and I fill out this spreadsheet and it calculates my miles. And man, for that first week, I am on it. And then I'm magically off it. And there's no good reason for it. Nobody to blame but myself. I just get really bad at following these. I always set out with the best of intentions. And then just, life, circumstances, whatever, I fall off. So getting ready for Berlin, of course, I've got my training plan, but I really want to try and stick to it. So I want to do this episode about the importance of them. And then I've just got to stick to it myself. And to the point, I don't know, I think I've mentioned this before on the show. I'm going to try and start this little video blog about just the training and everything kind of ramping up to Berlin. And we're going to put it on a YouTube channel. Of course, I will tell you all about it. Maybe you guys will want to kind of join me, but it's important that we do these training schedules and it's important to stick to it. And that's where I've struggled the most because as we talked about, I am by no means a perfect runner, but I'm going to try. So here's something that I found. This is just from Running Magazine. Whoo, words are fine. And this is what they're saying. 5 reasons to follow a training plan for your marathon. Okay. So here we go. Reason number 1, and this makes all the sense in the world. It takes care of the planning for you. Yes, you don't have to sit there and calculate your own miles. They're going to tell you exactly how many to run. What they say about that is whether you find the plan online or you get one from a coach, following a pre-planned program takes the guesswork out of running for you. Not sure how much you should be running to hit the PB on your next 5K or marathon or half marathon. Can't decide when or what type of workouts you should be incorporating into your training. Having a preset plan means you can forget about all that and simply run. Okay, so that's what they say. It is nice. You don't have to guess. You look at your schedule and you're like, oh, okay, this is my 5 miler or 6 miles or 8 miles. And the nice thing and what I've seen about most of these is, during the week when we're all, again, I assume most of us are grown adults and we're all working our day jobs and, bringing home the bacon, whatever you want to call it. You don't have time to go out for these super long runs. So on most of the training plans that I've seen, the most you're going to run actually during the week is 8 miles. And I think that's just one day a week. You'll definitely have a lot of 4s and a lot of 5s, but I think the most I've seen during a week is 8 miles. Of course, Saturday or Sunday, depending on how you set up your training plan, that's where the long runs are. But The maximum of 8 during the week, that feels pretty doable. Okay, so then the next blurb says most training plans are designed so that you reach your peak level of fitness right at the time of your goal race. It does so by prioritizing training so you build up your fitness gradually, preventing you from peaking too soon or overtraining. I thought that was interesting because overtraining is not something that I ever thought would be a thing. Now, we all know about tapering. Tapering is something, and we'll talk about this in later episodes. We could do a whole episode just on tapering itself. But tapering is, if you're unfamiliar, is when you're training, and then when you have to start backing off your miles before your race, kind of let your body rest and recharge and get ready for the big day. But man, it's brutal. Tapering is the worst because in your mind, you feel like I still need to be running. I still need to be getting the miles. I'm not getting the miles. I'm going to lose all my fitness. I'm going to lose everything that I've worked so hard on. And this is terrible. That's actually not going to be the case. And tapering is super important. But again, mentally, it can mess with you. Next, it builds in rest days. Yes, my friends, the dreaded and loved all at the same time rest days. Many enthusiastic runners choose to run every day, either because they love doing it or because they hope it will result in improved performance. Adequate rest days are an important part of training that some runners forget about, but since most training plans include at least one rest day on schedule, you'll be reminded on a regular basis to take a day off. Most of the marathon training plans I've seen have 2 rest days. You could even have 2 rest days and kind of a CrossFit day, or where maybe you do something that's not running. You could bike or swim or walk. Like for me, I use playing some sports, some actual team sports as cross training because it is. Is it as impactful as running? No, but it still works out some other areas if you're playing softball or soccer or golf or whatever. Next, it can help you out of a rut. When you're training by yourself and following your own plan, it's easy to fall into the trap of doing the same few workouts over and over again. If you're getting bored with what you're currently doing, a training plan created by someone else will likely have you doing different workouts to spice things up. Now, this is if you do a training plan that includes things other than running. And a lot of them do. A lot of them are you'll have a run, you can do some yoga. I know yoga is a big one, or maybe even some Pilates. You can work in against track work or bike work or swimming. But yeah, if you're stuck in a rut and you're just tired of pounding the pavement, then you can do other things that really will kind of just keep things fresh, keep you from getting bored. And like I said, get you out of a rut. So that's always a big thing. And then the last one, according to these good folks at Running Magazine, it gives you confidence. Finally, following a training plan that was created by an expert will help you feel confident when you get to the start line of your goal race, knowing that you followed the program, did the work, and are ready to throw down a fast time. Okay, so that's 5 reasons to follow a training plan. Again, this was Running Magazine. I thought this was good. I liked it. If you are getting ready for one of the big fall races, let's say the Kansas City Marathon or one of the world majors or just any of the big ones, every single one of those races offers training plans that their people have done, that they have set up specifically for their race. So that, the timing's going to be right. They're going to have you peaking at the right time. They're going to have you tapering at the right time. So I would definitely suggest that if you're doing one of the big ones, then go out there and research their training plan. And you can normally find it from 12, 14 to 16 weeks. Just kind of depending on where your fitness is at starting it, where you are going into the program. And really, like if you haven't been running really regular or, I'll be honest, this is kind of what I recommend for either first timers or people like us who aren't the elites. I would get the 16-week. Give yourself as much time as possible. Now, yes, you are very committed. 16 weeks is a long time. It's 4 months of training, but the distances aren't as great. I don't feel like the demand is quite as high. When you're going out for a 3-mile run, well, we can all get 3 miles done pretty quick. You're not losing a big chunk of your day, but 3 miles, 4 miles, and it ramps you up a little slower. I don't know. I like the 16-week programs. I'm actually kicking myself right now for not jumping onto one for Berlin instead of, now I'm doing the 12 that's about to start. I really wish I'd started the 16, but we need to find plans and stick to it. So you can do 16, 14, 12, and there's even 10s, but I think 10s is kind of crazy. So here's another one just to get a little more perspective. And this was a great article. This is on a website called All About Marathons. And then now this is the training part. So marathon training focus, they give you just a list of things to focus on. So number one, marathon training focus, number one, your marathon training plan. So again, another place that talks about the importance of a plan. This is such an obvious part of your marathon training. It's hard to wing 26.2 miles without a training plan. Okay, now sidebar, go ahead and raise your hand if you've tried to wing a full marathon. I definitely have my hand in the air. If you're being honest with yourself, you probably do too. There are so many training plans out there, though. It can be difficult to find the one that is in alignment with your goals and running lifestyle. Here's some things to consider when you are choosing a marathon training plan. Like that, running lifestyle. We're going to come back to that here in a moment. Number one, it's important to have confidence in your training plan, and it's equally important that you feel confident in the person or coach that designed the training plan. Running a marathon is largely a mental challenge. 100% correct. If you can be confident that your training plan and the coach behind it can get you to that marathon finish line, then you will be taking a big step in making that a reality. So again, that's why I say there's all the races have their own marathon training plan. You can also go to Nike. Nike has a ton of marathon training plans. There's some where you just run. There's some with a lot of cross training in it, but I will give props to Nike for that. They do have a lot of training plans to choose from. So this says, so find a coach or marathon trainer that speaks to your running style and gives you the support that you need. And then, of course, they offer themselves as a resource. And again, this is all about marathontraining.com. Number two, review the training plan to make sure that the workouts and training blocks that are included match your marathon goals. So if you want to run your first marathon, they say you might not want to do a lot, if any, speed work. And if you're trying to reach a time goal, make sure you're including speed work training and hill training. So it kind of depends on what your goal is. If your goal is just survival, you'll want to ramp up the miles. If your goal is to get there faster, hill repeats and speed work are going to be your friend. Here are some things to consider. Do you want a more intense training cycle? Do you want a more laid back approach? Do you like doing a mix of workouts, or do you prefer just doing simple base runs and long runs? How long do you want to be in training for? These are all things you should think about when choosing your training plan. Again, I agree with all that. We kind of already hit on a few of those things. But I think the big one for me is, do you like a mix of workouts, or do you prefer just doing simple base runs and long runs? That's huge. And I think a lot of people are different. I don't think you're going to find, you're probably going to find 50-50 across the board, to be real honest. Next, review your training calendar alongside your life calendar. Will you have any vacations or traveling that will keep you from your training? So do you have any big events that will keep you from training during that time? Look ahead to see where you might need to make modifications to the plan. Then you can reach out to your coach or the person who designed the plan if you have any questions on how to make those modifications in advance so that you're not falling behind. And this one speaks to me huge because I'm on vacation in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I am going to be out of the country, and where I'm going, there's definitely no races. I am going on a trip to Cancun. So there's only going to be an all-inclusive resort and a lot of food and a lot of drinks. So I'm going to have to ramp up all the miles I can before and after, because getting miles during is not really going to be an option. Haven't even looked, don't even know if the hotel I'm staying at has a fitness facility or a gym or any place where I could, try and get some miles. And to be real honest, I'm on vacation. I don't want to get miles. Now, I've definitely done race vacations where the New York Marathon, went to New York, ran a race, but this is not one of those. So this is one of the things where I'm going to have to do a lot of modifying, both before the trip and after, to make up for what is missed for the 6 days that I'm gone. So next, stick to the plan. There is another obvious, this is another obvious one, but if you're going to be following a certain plan, then follow it. A good marathon training plan is not a bunch of runs thrown on a calendar in any old way. A good training plan is designed to help you build endurance, strength, and speed in what is called periodized format to really help a runner be successful. This allows the runner to reach a peak at the specific point of training plan that will allow them to run their best possible race. So we touched on this in the last one as well. And I don't know why I can't spit out the word periodized, but I'm working on it. It really comes down to a science of when you want to peak, not too early, not too late. Sticking to your training plan and making any modifications under the guidance of a running coach will help you reach your most optimal fitness level for your marathon race. All right. So marathon training focus number 2, that was all number 1 right there. Yes, it was. That was marathon training focus number 1, your marathon training plan. Now we are on marathon training focus number 2, your marathon nutrition. Oh boy, this is going to get a lot of us. All right, let's be frank here. If you aren't giving your body the energy that it needs, then it won't be able to allow you to run 26.2 miles. It's like putting gas in your car. If you want to go the distance, you will need the fuel to do it. And then they actually talk about hitting the wall, but we've already discussed that because we're ahead of the game because we're awesome. Here are a couple pointers on how to focus your marathon nutrition. Complex carbohydrates are key before, during, and after your long runs. Protein does not fuel your running, however, it's important in the muscle recovery process. So yes, protein is best for the muscles and recovery, not going to help you actually run on the day. And then it says hydration cannot be overemphasized. Drink lots of water every single day of your marathon training. This is a priority. Yep, sure is. Finding the right energy drink will make your life and long distance running easier. Test and find the best energy drink for your body, taste preferences, fuel needs, etc. If you can't stomach Gatorade, don't drink Gatorade. If you don't like the lime, green death flavor, don't drink it. Find what works for you. But they don't say this. This is just what I'm throwing in there. The race you're training for, find what they use. Because if you are using one thing and they're using something completely different, could it throw you off on race day? It could. The possibility is not zero. That could happen. So most races, if not all races, will tell you what their aid stations and their fuel stations on the course use. So if you want to start training with that, if you know that there are Mountain Berry Powerade, well, then you might want to start training on Mountain Berry Powerade because that's what they're going to have. Just a little thought there, a little something for you to consider. And then let's see, they also say, make sure you're eating enough. This is not the time to try and skimp on calories. You don't want to go overboard, but you do need to make sure that you are giving your body enough of what it needs. Again, me, guilty. I always try and put like some hardcore diet on top of run training or race training. And that's not what you want to do. It's not like it's going to be some magical solution on the scale. Well, it might, but it will come at the expense of your marathon. So they're definitely correct on that one. And then marathon training focus number 1. Well, I don't know. They did 2 number 1s. I think they started a countdown and then they started to count back up. Anyway, this is the third of 3. Marathon training focus, your mental training. This is huge. Mental training is perhaps the most neglected part of the entire marathon training process, yet it is one of the most important parts of the process. I agree with that 100%. Marathon running follows the 80-20 rule. 80% of this battle is mental, 20% of it is a physical battle. You will reach a point in your marathon training when you physically can go farther, but you mentally feel like you absolutely cannot. You need to learn how to combat this. If you can, talk yourself through the hard times, you will be successful. How you think is how you feel is how you will do. It all comes down to your brain and what you are feeding it. See, there are many strategies and tactics that you can use to become mentally stronger. This person's most preferred method, though, is self-talk or self-coaching. It is so powerful and it absolutely works. It says, here are some tips on training yourself mentally during the marathon training. Be aware of your thoughts. You are having a constant dialogue with yourself during your training runs and during the race. That's true. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely talk to myself during the long runs. Most of the time, it's not positive. I do have more than I would like on negative self-talk. I bet a lot of you do as well. That's something that we've got to knock off. We'll all work on that one together. Talk to yourself positively. Catch yourself when you are having a negative thought. Change it into a positive statement. Learn to redirect your focus. Don't focus on the pain, focus on the gain. Practice mental training during your long runs. This will be your strongest predictor of success. So yes, and we're going to we'll have a different episode about this on another day where we just focus on the long training runs, because I don't think so much it's the marathon itself where you're going to mentally give out. You're going to mentally give out on the long training runs by yourself in a place that you know, no one to cheer you on, no one to hand you the water, just nothing, just you by yourself for however many hours it's going to take you to complete your long run. 2 hours, 2.5, 3, 4, 5 when you're getting up there. All of that is possible. And that is definitely something that you have to be aware of and that you have to be prepared for. And let's see, mental training is so important for runners, but marathoners, especially due to the sheer distance that they are running, which is why they put together a 20-step mental training plan. You guys can look that up if you so desire. Again, all about marathontraining.com. All right. And so that's what they say. There it is in the nutshell. Are the 3 biggies that it comes down to running a great marathon: your training plan, your nutrition, and your mental training. So those are the big 3. And I thought that was really fascinating. I definitely agree with all of them. And I think a lot of it comes down to the mental. I definitely agree in the 80-20. Physically, I think you'll be amazed at what your bodies can do. I mean, physically, I'm amazed at what I've been able to suffer myself through. Perfect example for me. I don't know about you, but again, in November, when I did the New York Marathon, I could not have been more out of shape. I could not have been really any worse showing up to a start line. My training was bad. I had neglected a lot of running. I'm trying to think. I'm sitting here right now trying to think. My longest run before the New York Marathon was a half marathon I did about 3 weeks before. So in mid-October, I did the Kansas City half marathon, and then I went and did New York. And so it was really bad. And so I was mentally down on myself really from the start of the race. And even though I think I was saved by running in a new place, seeing new things, and then the crowd support in New York was just insane. Like those people, still all the credit to the good folks in New York. You guys really saved my rump on that one. But yeah, it was really bad. I was not prepared, and it was mental. I mentally knew I wasn't there. Mentally, I knew I was not in shape. I was not going to have a good race. I mean, was suffering through a foot issue. It was bad. It was just bad. There's no way to sugarcoat. It was bad. And so that is definitely going to be my goal for Berlin, is to change things mentally, even though we call ourselves the back of the pack. And I love this, and I love what we're doing, and I'm having a blast. I hope you guys are as well. I'm really loving this, but there can be that mentality of, I'm too slow to do this race, or I'm not in good enough shape to do this race, or I've said before, if you show up to the start line mentally defeated, you might as well not even start, because you're going to have a bad race and you're not going to do the things you want to do. You're not going to finish in the time you want to finish. So it really is the mentality. So my mentality is, I'm going to train well enough, and I am going to show up ready. And then I am going to give that race what I've got. And I'm going to be out there in my back of the pack t-shirt, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be finishing dead last. And yes, there is an official marathon in this world, and I'm not going to tell you to look it up, where I was the last finisher before they unplugged the timing mats. Now, I know some people were behind me, but I was the last official finisher of that race. And boy, that did not help my mental frame of mind. I did not feel great about myself. It wasn't oh, yay, I finished. It was, oh my God, how bad was that performance? But we're not going to do that. We are all going to mentally get into this training this year for this fall race, whatever your race is. The Kansas City full, the Kansas City half. If you're traveling, if you're going to Berlin, if you're going to Chicago, if you're going to New York, if you're going to any of the other big fall races, we're going to have the proper mindset. We're going to train. We're going to hit our plans, and we are going to get our minds right for doing these races and kicking some A. Know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? That's right. That's what we're going to do. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Back of the Pack. I know it was a little long-winded, did a little bit more reading than I like to do, but I really wanted to get some of these points across, because we are all getting in it now. All the fall marathon training is starting, and we're going to hit this right. So I really hope to see you guys at the Stars and Stripes 5K in Overland Park, or 4 on the 4th if you're not doing back-to-backs like I am, because I'm just a glutton for punishment. But I do love doing these races. We're going to be out there, and it's going to be 4th of July weekend. We're getting some running in. We're hitting the start of our training, and it's going to be awesome. So like and share this episode. You'll be entered to win a free, one-of-a-kind, originally made Back of the Pack 4th of July t-shirt. And then also just, like, share, subscribe, get the word out. If you enjoy the show, you want your friends to listen to it, then let them know. Share it. Say, hey, you guys should listen to this show. I mean, this guy's kind of a dummy, but he's mildly entertaining. So, turn it on because we want to grow. And I can't do that without you guys. I can only do so much. So anyway, that's going to do it. My name is Kyle Walker. My pleasure, as always, to talk to you folks here on this beautiful Sunday morning. Like I said, like, share, subscribe. And this show is brought to you by OKKC Sports. It is produced by Katie O'Neill, and we will be back next weekend to recap some of our races. And who knows, we'll find something fun to talk about. So thank you all very much. As always, we'll see you next week.